Thank you so much. Yes, I'm continuing with the whole theme of memory and place, and speaking especially about the Voortrekker Monument and how it holds a lot of memory. You could call it that. Yes, okay, so let's. There we go. So the idea of the Voortrekker Monument stemmed from Paul Kruger during a meeting in 1888, where he said we actually need a monument to commemorate the Great Trek. But of course, this didn't realize quite soon. What did happen was there were different monuments erected, such as the Blaukrans Monument or a Piet Retief monument here and there over the years. And you know, early in the 20th century, even the Pietermaritzburg Church of the Vow, the Geloofde Kerk, that was purchased by the government. And so what they did decide back then was they really actually they needed a committee just to organize all of this. Otherwise, there would be chaos when you look at all of the different Great Trek monuments all around the country. So what the Pietermaritzburg staff did was they actually had the Central Monuments Committee, or in Afrikaans the SVK, for the Centrale Volksmonumenten Komitee. They got these people all together. And E.G. Jansen was the head of this organization. His wife, Mabel Jansen, was part of it. And, you know, in the 1929, the FAK was established. So N.J. van der Merwe was also part of this. And so this was all brought together in 1931. Okay, so now they really had to decide also when you look at a place of memory for the Great Trek, where would you put it? Because now this committee was responsible for generating funds, for appointing an architect, for all of the arrangements really to build a Voortrekker monument. So there were lots of suggestions, you know, and all of them had merit, such as, let me just have a look here. Okay. Such as Blijde Vooruitzicht, where the Koolvoetvrouw statue is today, you know, at the top of Retief Pass, but this is really far out of the way, and would cost a lot of money to build a monument up there, and roads and infrastructure. So, and also Gerard Moerdijk claimed that he did not want to compete with God. When you look at all of what natural aspects there is in this area. So, of course, Winburg, so this is a monument built later, also a Voortrekker monument, but not the Voortrekker monument. The same problem the other two sites have, you know, the Blood River Heritage Site and where Velkop is today, is basically the bedrock is either not suitable to have a large structure built on it, or it's too deep. So they had cost implications for sites like these. And these are just a few examples. It's not all of the sites that were suggested, but at the end of the day, they chose Pretoria. So there you can see a monument hill with this big, colossal monument right on top. And how they really decided on it is Mabel Jansen remembered that it was Paul Kruger's idea to build this monument, and also Andries Pretorius. You know, Pretoria was named after him, and he did play a large role within the Great Trek. So they decided to take the tallest hill within Pretoria and to build a monument on top of it. But now, of course, what type of monument? Because you have monuments of different sizes, different purposes. Should it be functional? There were suggestions to build a school, to build churches. You know, there were quite a few options. And then they thought to themselves, but what would be the purpose, the real purpose of this monument? And it would be to bring a community together, to it should be of national interest. It should be of interest to a community. And so this is what they said. As a massive colossus, it will serve for prosperity as a symbol of unwavering courage, self-confidence, devotion, unwavering loyalty, courage, and deed with our foot trackers. So they were thinking about what the foot trackers would want at the end of the day. Okay, and there were different designs. There was a whole competition for designs for a Voortrekker monument, and Gerard Moerdijk's design basically won the competition. And he said how he thought about the monument was also what would the Voortrekkers have done if they had to build a monument. And his answer was they would look at the Bible, because of course the Afrikaner who trekked back then were very religious, and I think the Afrikaner still is today. And so he's got his inspiration from Abraham, at Genesis 15, leaving Ur. And the whole idea of making a sacrifice on an altar stuck with him. And if you know the monument and you see the cenotaph in the center of the monument, that's basically his inspiration. Okay, so then he also traveled quite a lot, and his design did have quite a few international influences. So what you can see there on the left-hand side is the Völkerschlachtdenkmal in Leipzig, Germany, and you can see quite a few of the inspirations, such as the corner figures, and the arch. Although this is a very typical Art Deco design, very popular in the time, of course. So it has quite a lot of features, although it's much, much smaller, really, than the Völkerschlacht. Okay, then, of course, Napoleon's grave in Paris as well. So you can see Napoleon was quite an elaborate little sarcophagus there, whereas this is a cenotaph, and you can see the altar formation is much more visible. And at the back there, you have a bas-relief frieze, and here at the Hall of Heroes at the top, also a bas-relief frieze in the Cochetta marble. Ooh, okay, I see time. Okay, so then also the Pantheon in Rome. So you can see the dome with the oculus at the top there, letting light through. And we have a double dome at the top of the monument, also with an oculus, just to let the light through on the 16th of December at 12 o'clock. And of course, the African influence that we also see in the building is that of Great Zimbabwe with the zigzag patterns, symbolic of fertility and water, of course. Okay, then what did the public really think about this design? So they weren't shy. They sent letters, after an exhibit in Johannesburg. So some people said, but what secrets does it keep? It looks like Pandora's box. Another person said, oh, it's the best advert for Trotter's jelly. And another person said, oh, but it just looks like salt and pepper shakers. If you have a look at that Art Deco little formation at the top. And another person said, oh, it's as, unimaginable as a little radio, of the time. So it's their impression of the building. So some of the comments did change some of the design aspects of the monument, such as adding corner figures, the buffalo head on top of the door, just more little characteristic features. So, and then also we have people who also have their own recollections that often visit the monument. And these are some of the models that posed for the frieze, for some of the corner figures. The lady at the left there is Ella Stoffberg, and she, of her family, were related to Hendrik Potgieter, and so she was a descendant. And her grandson, Jan, he often visits me still, to bring me things of her, because she's already passed away, unfortunately. And so that special connection to the place is what motivates Jan to come and visit quite a lot and to bring me his grandmother's items. Yeah. Okay, so then, of course, then the cornerstone of this building was laid in 1938. So this is part of the symbolic ox wagon trek. So right through the country, you can see it starts at the bottom there, and there were different routes with ox wagons coming through as one big procession, and then ending at the monument on the 16th of December in 1938. And what is really special about this is along the way, people sent letters, they sent parcels with memorabilia from the Great Trek. The Artikafia Hartenbos were really involved with this part of history because they knew that we needed to have a first museum exhibit within the monument, and that was not there during the opening of the building. It just only came later. And with this foresight, they asked people to bring their personal items from the Great Trek, and that they collected this. And some of these items did end up at the Voortrekker Monument. And also you can see the post office that was on the site of the Voortrekker Monument as well during the centenary celebrations. So, which is also quite interesting, the whole setup and how that develops, especially for an event like this. Okay, so and then also with the inauguration on the 16th of December in 1949, you can see the whole area it's not the same areas that we look at today, if you know Pretoria well. You can see the whole, the tent dorp, or what do you call it? Yeah. Okay, you understand. So the whole area that were filled with people who wanted to camp over, and they had a butcher, and they had also another post office. They had the trains stopping nearby and bus stops bringing people to the site. It was, I think, quite a remarkable thing. So there you can see the planning that took place within this area, and even a play area for the kids where people may park and not park and drive if they did come with their own vehicles. It was quite a thing. Okay, and then also what is very special during the inauguration, Cecile de Ridder was a woman who participated and organized the first mass dance of Volksspelen. And this is quite remarkable because here you can see they're dancing in an ox wagon formation with the wheels at the bottom there and the body at the top there, and they were all organized dancers. So this is also a very a historic moment. Yeah. Okay. So when you look at the marble frieze itself, you have Gerard Moerdijk, and you have 4 different artists who worked on these frieze panels. And firstly, they made maquettes, which is a model, before it was made into Italian Cascetta marble in Florence. Because our marble is just not of the same quality. It's veined, it's very brittle. You can't possibly make artworks from that. And so Romano Romanelli is this man on the left-hand side here, and he was a very modern artist of the time. And he was then the artist, or the lead artist, on these artworks overseas. Okay, so you can see some of the maquettes being made on the right-hand side. Okay, so, and then what is really special about Romanelli, his grandson wrote us a letter in 1995, where he indicated that his father had such a love for the Voortrekker Monument because he had the opportunity to do this project, and that he felt that this is where his legacy lie. So this is another memory as well. And you can see him at the quarry on the right-hand side there as well. Okay. So what people remember about this, the one panel on this frieze is the Blowkrans panel. This is where it depicts a scene in history, the 17th of February in 1838, a massacre that took place, just after Piet Retief went to Dingaan's place of residence at Mngungundlovu. Okay, but what they do remember, and we often get phone calls from elderly people saying, but why did we change the panel? Why is some of the details has been changed? And since that panel has been placed inside the monument, no one touched it. We clean it, yes, but we would never change it. And what they usually say is that, but we remember the baby. The baby was being smashed against the wagon log. Okay, but what did they remember? This is what they remembered. So before it was made of Italian marble, there was a concept, one of the maquettes, and here you can see the baby, and it's really, really graphic. And the Rand Daily Mail took a photograph of this panel, or all of the panels really, but, and they placed it within the news, and says, how can they make something as graphic? And so the Central Monuments Committee and Jan Smuts, who were the Prime Minister of the time, they spoke, and it's really too graphic, and they decided to change the panel before it was made of Italian marble. So what people remembered was the photograph, and when they did visit the site where people, they really showed what they were working on back then, this is what they remembered, and not the one inside the monument. Yeah. And fun fact, during the inauguration of the monument, not all of the panels were even up then. The last 5 panels were only shipped from Italy in April in 1950. Okay, and so I told you about the items that were collected. Okay, on the UFS trek. Now, once the monument was open, there was the whole museum setup in Pretoria was a bit different. So there weren't really a museum that could help the staff at the Voortrekker Monument, or the Beheerraad back then, to create a museum. So the Transvaal Museum had a section for cultural history. This is the Boomstraat Museum. And the personnel who worked there helped to create this museum with some of the items. So some of the items from the Ottekavie Hartenbos collection was then chosen, and wherever there were gaps, some of the items from Boomstraat Museum was also then used. And Kweti Rood-Kuzia was the lady who was very driven to get all of this together. And so the first museum was only opened in 1957. Okay, so something interesting. So we also got a lot of calls with people asking us, but what is the dress code when I visit the monument? And I think this is the reason why. There was also some signage that was on the door that stated that you should please control your kids once inside. I want to see a parent who's able to do that. I haven't been. Okay. And then, so of course, this huge amphitheater was also built. And the state did fund it. So it was about £50,000 back then. And they decided, but okay, so we've opened the monument, but we really need to use it for different festivals, and as a place where we can get the Afrikaner community together, because they really felt at the time that they need to develop the identity or remind the Afrikaner of who they are. due to various historical events. But okay, so some of the photographs that we have here is the Van Riebeeck fears, that took place, but also that there was the Republic's Festival, there was the 1988 Great Trek Festival, also it's 150 years that they commemorated it. And they also had movie premieres, such as Die Cavaliers and Dood kry is min. So that's also what they used it for, and what a lot of people will remember was the use of this large amphitheatre. Okay, and this is just for a bit of fun, the Great Trek 150. So Wynnie Daisel had a little bit of fun in, just promoting the festival with Boeresport, So okay. Okay, and then in the 90s, people were thinking of the monument quite differently. So a lot of Afrikaners were really scared and are still scared today, when you have different conversations with different people, that the monument would be torn down by the ANC. And that was the fear back then. And that's why a public monument then became private. So the Voortrekker Monument Trust was developed. The Voortrekker Monument was then privatized, and they also had time to look at what people thought about the monument in that time, because now you had a time after apartheid, and people not only thought about community and all of the happy memories, but now they thought what it meant to be associated with the Voortrekker Monument. And so the visitor numbers were really low in the 90s. And, so even the Afrikaners didn't really want to come, not all of them, but, you had your stoere boere Afrikaner who still came. And then some people, they really didn't know what, there's the monument and there's nothing else on the kopie. Why would we come to the monument? And then you had other cultural groups who thought, but this is not a place for me. Am I even allowed to get there? And some of the comments we've had over the years of people who did visit were, oh, okay, where did we hang people on site? Which is not true at all. They were thinking about the central prison in Pretoria. And some of the other comments is, oh, but this is the apartheid museums. No, we're not in Johannesburg. No. Okay, so some of the messaging had to be tweaked, and we were very grateful for General Opperman, who managed the site back then, because he did a really good job of it. So because it was more than just a monument, and from the 90s, there was really a lot of effort placed in expanding the monument and what it meant to people. Okay, so we had Fort Skanskop, which was also in public hands that we bought over. So Fort Skanskop is on the next hill within our property. So it's an Anglo-Boer fort, and a museum was placed inside. We had, okay, so let me just refer, that's Fort Skanskop. Okay, then in 2008, the Heritage Centre was built, and there was the first Afrikaner exhibit at the top there, where you could have the socio-political and cultural history from just after the Anglo-Boer War until 2007. Yes, that's the timeline. And then also in 2019, an educational centre was open. The initial name was the Funda Discovery Centre, as it was a multicultural centre. And more recently, it was then changed to the Pioneer Centre. Okay, so, and also we got Grade 1 National Heritage status from the South African Heritage Resources Agency. And Mr. Paul Mashatile, the Minister of Arts and Culture at the time, was even present to hand over the declaration in person during a ceremony in this monument. So it was really a crucial turning point, it just shows you that there is really a value within the greater context within South Africa for this place. Then, of course, I spoke about the Heritage Centre, and that's actually also a conservation centre. So we look after heritage that's more than just Great Trek heritage. So we have a library, an archive, we have a museum store where we collect heritage, we collect stories, and preserve it for the next generation. Okay, so, and then of course festivals, because not everyone likes a museum, and you need different reasons for people to get to your site. And if you're a private entity, you need to get a lot of money in to maintain a place that is 341 hectares large, because we have a nature reserve as well. Okay. And then, of course, music festivals. So I think one of the largest music festivals ever was Mumford & Sons that performed there. But we also were proud to announce that we had Dr. Toomey there. And no one would ever believe that a concert like that would take place at the Voortrekker Monument. But it did, of course. Okay. And then, of course, the church services. People were coming, because they had that religious need. The church service on 16 December every year. And at this stage, it has grown so much we can't accommodate people within the monument anymore. Last year, we had 35,000 people, and we accommodate them in the large amphitheatre. Yeah. Okay, so then also we looked at tourism. So that little picture at the top there, that was the City of Tshwane's stall at Ndaba, Tourism Ndaba a few years ago. And we were really surprised and proud to see that the monument was featured there. And of course, platforms like TripAdvisor is also very important when people come to visit your site, because they look at the top tiers, at what is there to see. And of course, a lot of school groups. We had about 20,000 people last year, with per year, coming through. Am I going over time? Okay, I'm going quicker. Okay, international visits. So we had a lot of Chinese before COVID coming through, about 42%, and that led to fake news that the monument was sold to the Chinese, which is not true. Okay, and then we had COVID, of course, which was devastating, but from it came our virtual tour and a fundraising project where we sold each little, not really sold, we made it available for people to sponsor amount, per brick that was laid, per little glass piece, so that helped, but it wasn't enough, and that's how we came to have an agreement with the FAK, who then also helped us out of a very difficult situation with funds. And okay, so we changed also our strategy to get more locals coming through. So it's a cultural home for everyone where you can learn about the Afrikaner and where everyone is welcome. So I'm just going to skip through these things because there we are at the end. You can see we are on our way back up. Okay, thank you.